I want to go over a framework of potential experiences for you as a league leader. As for any volunteer organization, your role is largely defined by you. It's partly by the organization, but it only works if it works for you and your interests and your time, your abilities and so on. So in those changes, it's not like a job where you go in no matter what. Usually, I mean, this is something that's very much tailored by you, for you, within a framework. So that's what we would like to talk about now, because your constraints and your interests matter a lot in that.
Could I just interrupt a minute?
Yeah.
I don't think a couple of them heard that we have a handout, so don't bother to take notes on.
Yes.
Unless you very much what we're saying.
Unless you want to. I always have to process through another sentence myself. Do what works for you, but you don't have to.
Different styles.
So one of the goals here is not only to help acquaint you with more about the league, but also to help build our team, because that's how we get things done. So even if you're not on the board, we felt that it would be very helpful for you to understand how the board works and how the committees and other activities interplay with that as you carry out your own individual responsibilities. And as Kathleen said, we'll give you a handout, 2 handouts at the end. One is a 2-page backgrounder about the league, but also a 4-page resource sheet that should include virtually everything that we're sharing now. And feel free to interrupt with questions at any point, or share feedback about some of your own board experiences, because that helps enrich it for everybody. Do you want me to keep going here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there is.
So first we'll talk a little bit about typical board responsibilities. As for most nonprofits, but not all, our league board as a whole has legal and fiduciary responsibilities to act as a trustee of the assets of our organization and make sure that we're well organized, well run, and financially sound. Some of the things to keep in mind, there's somebody more at the door, okay. Some things to keep in mind as we work towards the goals and objectives that we set together are the following: general and specific ideas. So generally, do your homework. Prepare for and attend all the board meetings, or your committee meetings and so on. And letting the president know if you're unable to attend. And why does that matter? We have to have a quorum to get things done, and it helps to know whether or not we have that. Be sure to review the agenda and reports and attachments, and I'm sure everybody here will do that, already does that, so it just had to be said, but I'm sure you're fine. If you need, in your role, a board decision of any sort, be sure to let the president know about how much time you would like that topic to be on the agenda, and ideally a motion for the board to consider. And that makes the board work much more efficient, because we know what it is you are wanting to have accomplished. And background information to support that. Certainly that would be reviewed with the board when it needs to make decisions, but that really helps a lot. Another good behavior is to come on time and stay till it's adjourned. But also to participate in the decision-making and the approval process. Your voice matters, your perspective matters. What tends to happen is that we each see a slice of the whole thing, but we don't realize that other people may not hear that, see that, and so it's very important to have that whole composite.
I know I ask every so often, and then I ask so often again, but are we able to do telephonic?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yes.
We are able to do it now.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yes, we are. Yeah, it's officially in our bylaws too.
Because you don't want Taylor at a meeting.
Okay, but we want Rita, so
Participate, but
good. No, we can do that. Yeah, I think technology has advanced, and so we a little bit more slowly, but
okay.
we can do that. And we can talk about that maybe over lunch too. A very important part of our role as leader is something that Shirley alluded to in the beginning, and that is for us to understand and maintain the league's nonpartisan policy about political activities. And we'll be talking about that more, but it's a really important thing because
And it's something that in the past, and I've been a member since 1969, it was never an issue. We all knew to behave ourselves and keep we were all politically active, but to keep our, I guess, political persuasion to ourselves when we were at league meetings. And it has become more difficult and easy to slide in the current situation because of it being an issue. The issues that are being dealt with are ones that we really care about as leaguers. But at the same time, the leaders are pretty front and center about how they're interfering with those our positions on those.
Yeah, and I would guess that the Savannah League didn't start out intending to have, kind of get through that slide, but
They were bad.
Yeah,
And they were loud.
we don't want to go there.
No.
So, and again, goes up without saying in many ways, but try to participate as much as you can in any of the meetings, whether they're topics or member meetings and so on, not just your own piece, to the extent you can, because you are a leader and set an example for other members as well. Something I don't know that we do as well as many of us could, at least I will say I am guilty of this, and that is to be sure to represent and promote and explain the league in our community. I know for myself, sometimes I'm guilty of kind of petitioning out, what I talk about, where I do, and with friends, and I think, oh my gosh, they would be ideal people to come to league activities or to join the league and so on. And so that's one of our roles as leaders, is to help promote the league, both in terms of respect for it, but also potentially becoming members. And definitely looking out for that and helping our membership committee expand our reach, particularly in areas where we're underrepresented, and there are many types of being underrepresented. At the National Convention, there was a panel about diversity. Well, there was a training session about diversity as well as a panel about diversity, and one of the women on the panel is bisexual, and she said, many types of diversity, whether it's age or ethnicity and so on, are visible, but other kinds aren't, and just don't assume. So it was, it was a good reminder.
And we really need all voices.
We need all voices.
To have, to be able to represent our community.
Right, and, the old phrase of, this is the league had a reputation for some time of, entitled white gray-haired women, and you know, none of those things are are what we want to be only at all, even though some of us are, but anyway. And certainly also to support the league fundraising activities. We don't have a board obligation regarding giving. Most boards I'm on do and have an expectation that board members in particular set an example by giving something that's meaningful to them, which may not be much or it could be a lot. So, but we're just asking to support the fundraising because that's what runs us besides our volunteer time. Okay. Specifically, a suggestion is to have a notebook or whatever process works for you to have all of your board information together, paper, electronic, whatever it is, but just, you know, to think about organizing yourself and reviewing the portfolio that you've stepped up to do, perhaps discussing that with others who may have served in that capacity in the past, or and you have a lot of freedom to do it the way you think works for you or that's needed, but sometimes it's helpful not to reinvent everything and learn from, you know, lessons learned, things to keep or things to change or things to do anew. And certainly attending training when they're available. And speaking of the diversity training we went through at the League, National League Convention, there will be training for all league members about that. So that's something that to look forward to. It's not just our own local trainings. For your portfolio of responsibilities, form a committee. And a committee in our bylaws is at least 2 people. And we have had at times in the past where it was really just one, and that's really not a committee, that's not. So expand, people don't even have to, certainly don't have to be on the board to serve on any committee. In fact, it's a great way to engage other board members or new people who might join the board. I mean, excuse me, not the board, might join the league.
And our membership team will be happy to help you get a committee. We have an interest survey that about 1/3 of our membership has filled out. I have a printout of what we have so far for those of you who may need a committee. But the interest survey will go out again in early September.
Right.
So we, at that point, really hope to get the whole membership so that we can match what people really want to do, because a lot of people really join to get very active and to help you set up your committee.
And I want to point out, at the kickoff, we're going to have tables, booths, quote unquote, where all the chairs can set up and solicit volunteers who might be interested in what your plans are for the year. You might get some volunteers there for the committees.
And that'll be the morning of the Saturday, the 22nd of September.
So I'll just put in a plug about the survey. I guess one more person just submitted.
Huh?
Just one more person just responded to the survey that we had before. But if anybody likes working on surveys, I would, because I put together our first one. The questions we think could be a little different, and if anybody would just like to work with me, it would just be quick, just to refine what we ask, how we ask it for the early September one. I would love that, because turns out there were some things that we would have asked a little differently, or would ask.
Like housing and transportation.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll
I
see.
can-
Okay, Rita, oh,
Yeah,
perfect.
I've got you right there.
Also.
I have a committee, but just I'm afraid of how to do it. Okay. I'm gonna write it down before it.
See how it is?
Before we change our minds.
Yeah, I know, okay, I've got it. Okay. There are, so key thing is for us to all communicate with our membership, and the primary way we do that is through the voter, our newsletter. Bernadette is our key for that. She has deadlines, so, we'll all know what those are coming up, but, try to do your best to meet those because,
If I could just add something to that, Patty, and I'll talk more about it when I talk about the website, but in addition to the voter, we're really, really trying to get the website to be the go-to spot, and we're trying to get more people to like us on Facebook. And we're going to try to do a weekly news update.
Right.
So aside from the voter, which is also very, very important, we really want to get people engaged digitally and have our website be the go-to place for updates and information.
Can I just say that worldwide, Facebook, people aren't having a very positive outlook on
Right.
Facebook, and they're actually removing themselves from Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And so worldwide, everyone's going back to their websites like the
Yes.
old days.
Yes.
And then adding wikis or whatnot for just quick information
Absolutely.
onto their websites, because nobody wants to feel like
Right.
someone's looking in your closet.
Right, and that's what we want to, exactly right,
Yeah.
Rita. That's what
And
we
so
want to
there's
start
all
focusing
the
on.
other social media, but they're all owned by the same three people. No
Yeah.
matter who you
Instagram,
think they're
right,
not
yeah.
owned by,
Right.
they're all owned by the same three people, and they're collecting your data.
Right,
So everybody's now beefing up or
Right.
simplifying their websites
Right.
and adding wikis so that you can get the
Cool.
daily quick
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
And for a wiki, if there was a thing
Yep.
for a portal for a wiki, you can then say, hey, this is going on in
Right.
Portola Valley, this is going on
Right.
in Menlo Park, and you can have that running
right,
there. Anyone can then add to that.
right. We want to build our community
Cool.
actually around the website, just like Rita is saying, we want that to be the go-to. And then we will do a lot more outreach digitally. So I'll talk more about that when I talk about the website, but you're absolutely right.
Thank you.
Okay, just a little bit more, just sort of general housekeeping and being a good leader and steward of all of our things. We have a budget. There are line items for that for different activities, but you do need to have board approval for what you do, especially if it's going to go over. And, I've heard in the past sometimes, well, we have lots of money, we can do something. No, that's a board decision because there may be some other competing things that we need to weigh in that process. There are some reports that are due both to state and national, and also for the IRS, especially now that we'll be a merged organization. So there's some record keeping that we will expect you to do, and we'll give details more later, but just keep that in mind that we do have some documentation that we will need to provide. And then look out for this is early, especially for those of you who are even brand new to the league, but keep your eye open for your successor. And help groom them so that it makes it easier for our nominating committee. But also that, when there are times when your life, gets busy, that there's somebody there to step in, and that's part of the grooming process for that. For the notebooks that we suggest, maybe we could just provide the information that
Well,
we would recommend.
It's in the handout.
Yeah.
And I'll be
I think that's
emailing
sufficient.
copies of all the things that we
Yeah.
have today.
Yeah.
You can include.
So there are some suggestions for what your electronic or paper notebook includes, and I won't go over those right now.
And Shirley will be talking about the reimbursement process in our vouchers system. Thank you, Patty. We've kind of talked about the nuts and bolts. Now we're looking at how we build the team and how we work as a team. And as everybody appreciates, to keep the league moving forward, we all need to be on the same page. So what do we report to the board? any decisions your committee has made or any recommendations that you want to make to the board for their consideration needs to go to the board. Also, just general reporting on progress that you are making on setting up an event or any job that you're doing, lead job, and in your process of getting it accomplished. And then also, if you're having problems, by all means, bring those to the board. You know, if you've heard some negative feelings within the membership against the project, for example, that should be out there so we can mitigate it, or take a second look at what we're doing. And information that in the community, organizations that may be doing the same thing we're doing. I think of voter registration, for example. Is there another organization that is going into the schools and really making that their goal? Well, then perhaps we don't need to be there too, even though that had been part of our plan. And we can redirect our resources to another place that may be more important or as important. So those are just a few situations where you need to take it to the board. And when should you be asking for board decision? I see the first part that I just did is reporting. This one is where to move forward, you really need a decision. And as Patty mentioned just a minute ago, when you are going to spend more money than you had in your budget, and to go forward, you would need a budget adjustment. If you want to hold a public meeting or a membership meeting, that needs to be cleared with the board. And I'm sure everybody will be very happy for you to do it, but it still needs to be part of board discussion. And when you want to publish or distribute something to members or the public, any issue information, for example, it's a good idea to run that by the board and ask for their approval to do so. And especially, it's essential that when you plan to make a statement in the league's name, that is always needs board approval, and the statement needs approval. When you want to make any demand on the league's time, money, or reputation, I mean, that's just kind of a bottom line guideline there. And probably the one that we don't think of too often is if you're not sure whether it needs a decision or not, float it and be sure that, because it just may. Patty?
So this section is who speaks for the league. And I will say as background, the league's reputation and its name has incredible power and weight in public discourse. And in fact, many organizations seek the league endorsement because it's sort of the good housekeeping seal of approval. So we take very seriously when and how the league name is used. And speaking with one voice is a key part of that. National has strategies and action policies that we abide by and don't conflict with. Same for the state league. So the messages on these national or regional issues are consistent. It's really important for the league's reputation and image that there be consistency. And a lot of that is driven through our studies where we have grassroots support and take positions only when there is consensus for those. A few really important things to remember. At the local level, the president is the person who's permitted to speak for the league in an official capacity. So we're not, as board members or committee members, authorized to speak for the league. It is the president, so we should defer to the president to do that. As an organization, we are nonpartisan, meaning that we don't support or oppose any candidate or political party. And that helps safeguard our reputation as a nonpartisan body. It is acceptable for us to, as individuals, to be politically active, but board members are subject to some additional scrutiny. Board members whose names are frequently before the public representing the league and always the president and voter services director are not to participate in support or opposition to candidates during their term of office. So it doesn't mean that you can't support or oppose, but it has to be a private matter. You can't publicly hold those positions and also be visibly supporting or opposing a candidate. Only the president or their designee is authorized to speak for the league. I said you can delegate it. I think you said only, yeah.
Which I frequently do.
Yeah. And then if the board has decided to take an action on an issue, the president and an appropriate portfolio director must approve all the official correspondence and public statements related to that. So this is just what helps us preserve our voice, our respected voice as a league.
Okay.
Yeah.
We thought we'd go over how to take board action on local league positions. Anybody in the public or in the league can suggest to the league that we take a stand on a given issue, but as Patty just said, the board is the only one to make that determination. And some of the guidelines that we go by to make that decision as a board is that it needs to relate to a specific league position or to the principles, which are the concepts of government to which the league subscribes in the League US publication Impact on Issues. And in the handout, you have the website at National, where all this is available electronically. But the principles are, as I recall, I thought they were at the very end. But they are in here and very concise, along with a lot of good background on where the league takes positions and what positions we take, and some background information on how we got there and what action we have taken. Likewise, there on the State League website, there's also a list of our positions. But to speak to our local, where we can take action locally, it's in our handbook that Anne has been responsible for, and we thank you. The factors to consider when we're taking action are, is it an issue for emphasis that our league has agreed to? Every year at our annual meeting and at local program planning, we decide what we're most concerned about, and it's usually three different, 2 or 3 different issues. Does the action make sense in terms of timing and need? I mean, it may in one neighborhood, but not in the greater South San Mateo County, and then you would handle it differently, I think. Will the league's action have an impact? And considering we all have limited time and resources or talent, in expertise in that area, that may be a major factor to consider. Are there sufficient number of members who are really interested in this? And will it increase the league's credibility and visibility? And do we have, as I mentioned, the expertise to really be, to competently go about taking action? We all know that action can be in many forms, and many more forms now that we have social media, we have the internet, but we still write letters to the editor, testify before our local bodies, elected bodies, city councils, or the Board of Supervisors, and we send letters to our elected or appointed officials. It's important that when asked to take action, that we lobby only our own legislators. Every league board will be responsible for, if we overlap, say with Palo Alto, there will be times when one league will take the lead or the other when it comes to state issues or national issues. But this isn't usually a problem in our own South San Mateo County, the 6 cities that we cover. It is possible that our board, when asked, especially by state or national, to take action, that we don't really agree with it. So it's fine not to take action, but we don't speak against their decision. So that's just kind of a bottom line. And the impact on issues, all of these will have the detailed information for taking action. I told the story that on Saturday that when I was local league president, we must have spent, it was way too much time discussing whether we should take action as requested by this other organization. And finally, one of our wiser members said, well, do we have a position? No, we didn't. That ended the whole discussion. The decision was made, but I'm still embarrassed by it. And I can't believe that that's where it was. But it's that simple. Do we have a position? So, Patty, do you want to tell us a little bit about where we get this information?
Okay, so not only do we have our wonderful new website, but there are websites for the state and national leagues as well. The national website has just been updated, and there are plans to update it more, and I will tell you, it's a good thing.
It's been pretty rough.
Yeah, you could really get lost in the forest there pretty easily, and I think the search function is much better now too. I don't know how much of the historical information is readily searchable yet, but there is a very concerted effort to be an improved resource, and there's a lot there, both about positions, the current action priorities, what the league is doing, and the National League does a lot more of the advocacy and lobbying than we do locally and even in our state, unless it's a state issue. So there's a lot of really good information that helps our conversations with friends too, and why we support the league, because it's not just what we do locally, it's also what our state and national leagues are doing. Voting and almost anything related to voting right now is the priority for our national league. So there's quite a bit of information there about how to educate voters and increase registration and participation in voting. And we can subscribe to regular alerts and reports too, if you want, and others can as well. The state of California, excuse me, not the state of California, the League of California also has its own positions and priorities and so on the state website. There are, for both of these, are two parts. One is for the public view and the other is for league member view. They're not yet that, it's not yet that difficult to access the members only part, but there isn't, like, there's no password required. So you just need to know where to go, and there's a lot more information, quite a bit that could be helpful for committee members about the role and what other leagues are doing. There, again, at convention, there was quite a bit of discussion about what other leagues are doing, and so having some better way to share information of things that are working or, were tried and weren't so great. A lot of that is and will be available. will be there. There is a League of Women Voters of the Bay Area too, so it's just our direct region, and there's information on their website as well about regional positions, as well as they have a bi-monthly review about regional issues as well.
We have links on our website to all of those
And that would be,
websites.
might be an
So
easier
it's
way to do.
very, if you go to remember our website, go there, and then you can, there's on our menu, it says other leagues, and it has links to all the other.
And are those to the public part of them or to the members part, or both?
Just the public part
Okay.
is, I could put a separate,
Ultimately, yeah. We need
right now it's just the
All these
Wait.
options.
Yeah.
We need to walk before we can run. But,
Right.
yeah.
Right. It's easily changed, so whatever idea you have.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So we've really dealt with the nuts and bolts here, and it's still important to look at what will help us build a really strong, impactful team, and understanding that every single board that comes together is unique. Personalities are different, expertise is different, everybody brings different skills and interests and ingenuity, and of course we want all of that to flourish, and it just takes sometimes understanding what motivates each board member, and a few rules of the road about speaking up and having your voice heard, and everybody listening, so that they, before making decisions, just become informed, and then agree to disagree agreeably, in having good discussion before the board really formulates their final decision on whatever they're being asked to decide on. We have a little motivational exercise that is kind of fun just to do, and it'll give you a little more idea of who is motivated by power, who by achievement, and who by affiliation. Does anyone need a pen or pencil? You've already done it.
Last time, on Saturday.
You did.
I've already done it. I've already done it. Yeah, I've already done it.
And Joyce?
Joyce.
Okay.
She's
They-
not ready.
Did this come from a typewriter? Yes.
You need a pencil?
I got one.
Almost.
My aunt was saying the other day, she's 92, that's something young people don't know about carbon.
Yes, the origin.
Haven't they, like the telephone, they have their dial phone?
Oh, we
They don't even know what one looks like,
We had
right?
one on the wall that you rung. That's no lie.
Oh, one of those, yeah.
We used to accordion on.
Yeah.
Do it again. See if the answer's different.
Yeah. It should.
Oh, okay. She is on it right now, but if you aren't, if you start talking. But we can aim it more directly at her.
Just put your hand up when you're ready for the answer sheet.
Read that.
You did it.
Lots of us have lined them.
None of them. Right. A lot of
There's no right answer.
Yeah. Yeah, it does start to fall
She's
into
gonna send some email notices.
the buckets appear.
And in your notes, do you have a thing about
She's not
paid advertisement?
That's true.
We've done it.
Well, we've done it on, for national or state positions, but just in case someone is, feels the need to put in a ad someplace and pay for it, like even with Facebook, there's,
Yeah, I think there may be some of them, I'm not sure.
but then there's an
We'd
approval
have to-
process.
Yeah, but it can be done.
It can be done, yeah, definitely can be done. With an approval process. Yeah.
It's expensive though.
None of the above or all of the above. It's not easy.
For us to put in an ad. Does that work on you? Oh,
Yeah, we
okay.
advertise before,
Yeah,
but it's pretty expensive.
It's very expensive, and then there's approval process.
It's an expectation.
No.
Right, it just kind of done.
Right, and then boost it, either through Facebook boost or then pay for other
Right.
advertising in a
A
calendar.
scan function.
That is
Yeah.
fun.
You can, the phone kind of is a picture scanner. And an email is a
Just
file.
score them.
Or I have a copy printed, so that also gets scanned, so if I have this.
Interesting.
Oh, you got it. Bernadette, you have a scorecard, or whatever you want to call it.
Well, very interesting. I had no idea how. That's fun.
It's kind of fun.
That is fun. I mean, it all stays the same.
Mostly affiliation.
Yeah, it is fun. I didn't think it would have been that either. It's really fun. So,
But some of the others are just so
I don't know
rude.
who the. Right.
Interesting.
Wow. Not using the witness.
Really?
Yeah, don't you go, whoa? Yeah, what's up with that?
Oh, my.
Oh, mine was like 333.
Oh, wow.
So,
That's
let me know when everyone has decided what they are.
It's funny. That was my response. That was my response, Lucille. I have a hard time fitting into, sentences.
We don't fit in the boxes.
Was that yours? Oh, okay.
Very interesting. That was fun. Where'd you get this, Kathleen?
Probably.
Oh, no, back when I was on the state board in 80, yeah, 87, I think.
Oh, my gosh.
But I was just going on as, I had been on for 2 years and I was going on as management training vice president. So I had 44 leagues in Northern
Oh,
California
my.
that I visited, did board training
Wow.
and board goal setting with them. And I used this everywhere because it had worked for our, for our state board. And it's fun, it's easy, but I did have one league member from Cupertino who said, now I know why my league doesn't get anything done.
Yeah.
All affiliation types, and indeed they met around the kitchen table. So they were more of a support group for each other. I think
Savannah.
Yeah, I think she moved them forward, but are we ready? How many power types are there?
I'm balanced.
I haven't scored.
I'm split between achievement and power.
You're what?
I'm split evenly between
Oh,
the two.
great.
Wow.
Great.
Perfect.
Because usually there's no one, and we say, how are we going to get things done? How are we going to have an impact? So we know to look to Barb for some inspiration there. How many affiliation types? Okay,
Mix.
one.
Who's affiliated?
And how many achievement types?
Oh, wait, I don't know.
Even more.
And Barb, are you split?
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, mine's a mix up.
Okay, Shirley, you just took note, right?
I took notes.
Yeah, no, I said took note of
Yeah.
what motivates people.
Yeah.
And the achievement motive is your goal is success in situations requiring excellent performance. And it gives characteristics of the person and things to think about, things that they think about, like doing the job better, goals and how to attain them, and obstacles and how to remove them. And the power motive, people motivated by power, their goal is having an impact or influence. And the things they think about are influence and control that they have over others and how to use it to win arguments, change people, gain status and authority. And the affiliation motivated people are, their goal is being with someone and enjoying mutual friendship. And they think about wanting to be liked, comforting and helping people. Joyce is a nurse for a reason.
Who knew?
Feelings of others and self. And I am passing these out so you can all have fun with the characteristics that you perhaps represent.
Great.
I love it. I scored mine now, I'm achievement. 6 achievement, 4 affiliation, and 1 power.
Just different ways of approaching things. So since there's always more than one way to get things done, even for those of us who are achievement oriented, there are lots of different paths to get to the same place. So don't ever underestimate your value in speaking up and expressing a different view, because it may just spark something that makes it much better for all of us. So, our goal is to be more efficient and effective, and everybody adds to that.
I think that one time when it's probably better to call somebody on the phone or speak to them face to face is if there's something contentious that has come up. It's just too often we think we can deal with it on email and it can be totally misunderstood. So that's just, I guess, words of concern for the future, to how to just keep everybody happy, or at least respectful of one another. And it's really important to, I think, to the leadership team to be able to trust one another, and in order to cooperate, have an impact.
If I could add something there, I think one of the things that just impresses me so much about the league and why I have been involved is that the league doesn't just care about the end game. It cares about the process of getting there. And, without getting too political at the moment, I think that approach is so much more important now in the context of what's going on in our country to be able to be civil, to be able to give the benefit of the doubt and show respect and try to come to some common ground. That process is something that I truly value about the League, and that, we just do and should keep it in mind for everything that we do. And we have had and will have issues of contention or different perspectives and strong feelings about them. We saw it at the National Convention.
Like that.
Yeah, so
It was rather contentious this year.
But that's what happens with change, too.
It is, and it gets us to a better place. And so, again, I just think that the League has been and continues to be a good role model, and that the process of getting someplace is almost as important as where we get to.
And I think the League, not only our chapter going through changes, but as you said, nationally, they're trying to talk differently to their members, they're enhancing their website, they're in the states doing the same thing. So we're all together collectively going through this huge change and upheaval. It's all energizing and exciting, but it can be frustrating at times too, but it's good stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I'm always reminded by a trainer that I heard who said, just remember, volunteers are gold bricks, and you take care of them just like you take care of gold bricks. And all of you are gold bricks, and I can't tell you how much we appreciate that you are giving of your time and your expertise to help our League have a real impact in our communities, especially at this time, and as Patty said, to be that model for civil discourse and guiding our citizens through information and process to have their voices heard. So thank you very, very much.
It certainly speaks to the motto for the League of Democracy in Action. And
Yeah.
that should definitely be always our forefront message. It is.
right.
It's so. You went to convention. It's a convention that came together with ideas and came up with a program. It's exciting. It really
It
is.
is very exciting, very, very exciting. And I'm anxious to hear all about what happened at convention.